Hello everybody, I am the Comics Kid 2099 and today I am going to talk about a comic book storyline that I own in hardcover. This is Secret Avengers Volume 1, Mission to Mars, written by Ed Brubaker and drawn by Mike Deodato and David Aja. This storyline collects the first 5 issues of this series. If you haven't read this story, I am going to briefly sum up the plot here before I get into the full-blown review. There will be some spoilers, so if you don't like that kind of talk, then this video probably isn't going to be something that you will like. So Steve Rogers, formerly Captain America, and at this point just going by the name Steve Rogers, has put together a team of secret Avengers to deal with secret threats to the world. This team consists of himself, Sharon Carter, War Machine, Beast, Black Widow, Valkyrie, Moon Knight, and Ant-Man. And their first mission involves finding the Serpent Crown and keeping it out of the wrong hands. They find out that there are multiple Serpent Crowns, and one of them is kept on Mars. They go to Mars, they find out that there is a secret cabal that is seemingly operating at cross purposes to our team, and then they are able to prevent Nova, under the control of one of the evil crowns, from accidentally waking up an eons-old Cthulhu-type beast. Cue credits. This plot sounds more complicated when I try to explain it than what it actually is. All of this happens in 4 issues, and I feel like if it had taken place over many more issues, I would have likely been complaining about how it took too long to reach the climax. And there are a couple of problems that I do have here. One, my biggest problem, is that this whole book really just feels like setup. It introduces this Shadow Council that was apparently founded sometime after the American Civil War, and we know that apparently these guys maybe are not bad guys, or at least they are not as bad as the Secret Avengers seem to think that they are. But we still don't have any idea what their real goals or motivations are. And really, this entire volume just kind of feels like it wasn't very important because it is all leading up to something bigger that I feel like Brubaker has more interest in. I mean, sure, the Avengers save the universe, but that doesn't stop this book from feeling like a setup story for something bigger. And then my other problem is that this book doesn't really try very hard to explain things for new readers. I am not an Avengers fan. I have a few Avengers books, but I am hardly an expert on the mythology of this franchise. For instance, I don't know exactly what the Serpent Crown is. I know it has something to do with mind control and maybe alternate realities, and that's about it. I'm not sure who made the thing. Even though we have an ancient alien in this story who tries to explain the origins of the crown, I still am not sure where it came from at the end of this book. And then we've got other things. Eric O'Grady is apparently seeking redemption, or maybe he's not. But for what reason? I guess you came to the wrong book if you wanted to find out. Moon Knight tells Steve that he's not great on teams because of multiple voices. Now, I actually know a decent amount about Moon Knight, so I know that he's referring to his multiple personalities. But someone else who is reading this might be just as confused about this as I was about the Ant-Man redemption thing. And just like the Ant-Man thing, if you are confused, then this book will not ever bother to clarify what it means after briefly and vaguely referencing it. In fact, this book's second biggest problem, after being just a setup story, is that about 99% of the characters here feel incidental. The only real character that I feel like we get inside is Steve Rogers, and we only really get to see some of his noble personality traits. He tells the truth, according to him, all the time. He is strong-willed enough to be able to absorb the powers of the entire Nova Corps. He stands up for all kinds of life, as we see in the 5th issue. But even with Steve, we don't really get to find out why it is suddenly important to set up this team. I get that we're told that the secret threats of the world need to be dealt with in secret ways, but that doesn't really make sense. Sure, if your enemies don't know that a special team has been put together, then they won't know that you're coming for them. But all of these guys are public superheroes who have been in the limelight at one point or another. Wouldn't it be just as easy to eliminate secret threats if this team was another public branch of the Avengers? And why is it that this team has to be founded now? Why not 10 years ago? And then there's the thing I said about all of these characters feeling incidental. Moon Knight could basically be replaced by the Black Knight. Black Widow could be replaced by Black Panther, and so forth. I don't see any character interactions here that make me feel like the Beast is indispensable and cannot be replaced by someone else. When the entire team feels like they are just vessels to carry out the plot, that isn't exactly great. In fact, it's kinda bad. This is only made more clear at the end when Steve decides that Nova may need to be replaced by someone who is more readily available at the drop of a hat. I don't mind a rotating roster, but here I feel like this team having a rotating roster is only part of the story because Brubaker doesn't have a handle on any of these characters, and he could just draw 7 names out of the Marvel Universe, plug them into this story, and it wouldn't be any different. Overall, I enjoyed this book more or less. It wasn't a chore to get through. I didn't find myself wishing that I was doing something else while reading it, but it's just not that good of a story. No character at all, and I can't shake the feeling that this book is just the prologue for an air quotes real story. So unless you are a die-hard Avengers fan, in which case you probably already own this book, then I would not suggest picking this up. So that is my review. I hope you found it to be very helpful, and if you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I will be back tomorrow with a different kind of video. Until then, you guys have a great rest of the day.